it is that you are tuning in. This is Unapologetically Me, featuring me. No special guest, just me. Well, I want to say thank you to all of my current subscribers. I see my numbers are slowly climbing up there, and I really want to tell you how much I appreciate your loyalty and just, how you're helping to support my channel. Also, to anyone who is new here, hi. I'm so glad that you decided to click on this video, and hopefully you will find something on my channel, if not this video, to your liking. Today, however, we are going to be talking about a very serious case, the case of Lauren Smith Fields. So I'm sure that by now you guys all know what happened here as far as who we're talking about and all the BS that has gone on for this poor family surrounding this case. So this is a very serious case to me. I really, when I saw everything about it, I was angry from the start. So I did make a script for this one. I want to make sure I get everything right and I don't go off on any tangents. Because I really feel like her story needs to get out there, and I feel like a certain person needs to be looked into and brought to justice, because I do not believe that this girl OD'd on her own. I just don't believe it. So, if you haven't heard anything about it yet, we're going to get into it right now. So, Lauren Smith Fields is a 23-year-old woman who was found dead in her apartment in Bridgeport, Connecticut, the morning of December 12th of 2021. Now, on December 12th, 2021, at approximately 6:35 a.m., the Bridgeport Emergency Operations Center received a call for service regarding an untimely death. Upon arrival, it was determined by police that Miss Lauren Smith Fields had passed away unexpectedly. The 911 call was made by a man by the name of Matthew LaFontaine. We're going to say LaFontaine. We're going to say exactly what it looks like, LaFontaine. Officers took a statement from Matthew about what happened, and satisfied with Matt's account on the matter, with nothing other than a feeling that Matt was a nice guy, the case was basically wrapped up and no further investigation into Matt or the apartment was done. Just seems like a nice guy, so he probably didn't have anything to do with it, so we're just gonna let him go. Lauren's autopsy results came back a few days later as accidental, with the cause of death being acute intoxication from the combined effects of fentanyl, promethazine, hydroxyzine, and alcohol. Very interesting cocktail there. That's not a cocktail most people would take, even if they were drug abusers. That is really not a mixture of drugs that I don't think anyone would take together. Now, I don't know a lot about, I know enough about these things because, everyone knows about the fentanyl issue right now, laced meds and things like that. But, first of all, hydroxyzine, I'm prescribed hydroxyzine. I used to be prescribed Xanax for my panic disorder, and I'm now prescribed hydroxyzine. It helps me sleep when I'm really panicky and edgy. It can kind of take the edge off of a panic attack. I hardly ever take it though, because honestly, I hate the way it makes me feel. Even to go to sleep, I don't like the way it makes me feel. So someone to ingest that, just for kicks, I don't, that's not something that someone would normally do. It'll make you feel really drowsy, really tired, and obviously mixed with alcohol would probably make you feel pretty shitty. I don't see her taking that. So, and promethazine, I don't know. I don't know I don't know. Okay, we're just, here I go. We're not tangenting today. Okay, Lauren Smith Fields, as you can see, was a stunningly beautiful woman. She was a young woman in the prime of her life, 23 years old. She was a social media influencer on TikTok, YouTube. She was living on her own. She was enrolled in college. She ran her own business. She was heavily into health and fitness. She was a fitness model, And to all accounts by family and close friends, she never used drugs. She would go to LA Fitness every morning with her mother, Chantel Fields. She was very, very close with all of her family. She did everything with them. They would have known if she had been changing or gotten into anything. They would know. She even had a trip to Greece planned to take with her grandmother for her 24th birthday, which would have been this past January 23rd. She's Aquarius like me. No wonder she was so awesome. So, who is Matthew LaFountain? He's a 37-year-old design engineer with Times Microwave Systems. He and Lauren met on Bumble, where they spoke for about 3 days prior to meeting up in person. Now, if you don't know what Bumble is a social app that links people up by location. So you can do this for meeting friends, but mostly it's used for dating purposes. So a photo of a person is shown and you can swipe right or left based off of whether or not you like someone. If two people swipe right on each other, then they're considered a match and the two can take it from there. When police took a statement from Matt LaFountain, he told them the following information. So when they showed up that morning to the apartment and found Lauren deceased, they took a statement from Matt. And he said that on December 11th, 2021, he and Lauren agreed to meet up in person after 3 days of talking on Bumble. He said that earlier in the day, she asked for $40 to get her nails done, and after she was done, he could come over to her apartment. He said when he first arrived, they were just having fun, getting to know each other. They took a couple tequila shots, and he said at one point she became sick and ran to the bathroom to throw up. But she came back out, quickly recovered, and they continued their evening, playing games, eating, drinking, and eventually watching a movie. He said that at one point in the evening, her brother stopped by to drop something off. He said that Lauren and himself finished off the bottle of tequila with mixers while watching a movie, and Lauren fell asleep on the couch. So he carried her to bed, and he laid next to her and went to sleep too. Now, can we just talk about that for a second? The guy has known her for 3 days. She did invite him over. Was there any talk of him spending the night? Because in my opinion, she fell asleep. I think it would be kind of the gentlemanly thing to do would be to cover her with a blanket, write a little note, and dip out. You know, you weren't invited. You know, maybe he was, though. I don't know. I just find it very odd. I also find it very odd that he went to bed with her in her bed. Now, she's passed out. She hasn't asked you to come to bed with her because she can't, because she's sleeping. So why do you get in her bed? I don't know. That just seems sus. Maybe he was worried about her. I don't know. But why would he be worried about her if she just had a little bit too much to drink and fell asleep? She was breathing. He put her to bed. He should have at least slept on the couch, maybe got up to check on her if that was the case. I don't like that he got in bed next to her. I find that very creepy. I don't think that she was the type of girl to want a stranger in her bed after only 3 days. I mean, just because they're hanging out and drinking together does not mean that she wants him in her bed. So he said that around 3 a.m. he woke up to go to the bathroom. He said when he came back he could hear her snoring, so he went back to bed. He then wakes up at 6:30 a.m. to an entirely different situation. When he checks on Lauren, he notices she's on her right side and there's blood coming from her right nostril. He gets closer to her and then doesn't seem to hear her breathing. He immediately calls 911, where the operator guides him to pull her from the bed onto the floor to begin chest compressions and CPR. When officers arrive, he's still on the phone with the 911 operator performing compressions, and he appeared to be visibly upset and was shaking. An officer called him in his report a frantic man. He was very adamant when asked that they did not have sexual intercourse, that he remained fully clothed the whole night. Now, this is very interesting, and you'll find out a little bit later. She was fully clothed when officers arrived, seeming to corroborate his story. Her time of death was pronounced at 6:49 a.m. and determined that she had passed away at least an hour prior. So what happened? What happened? How did those drugs get into her system? It seems to me, this is my opinion, that Matt was already setting up an alibi for the drugs during his initial statement to the responding officer by saying that Lauren's brother came over to drop something off. That's just me speculating. So, in an interview with Rolling Stone, her brother, Lakeem Jeter, the brother that stopped by, said that he stopped by to pick up a basket of clothing that she had of his. Nothing about dropping anything off. In the interview, Lakeem said, I didn't know anybody was there. She came out and was there for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then she walked back into the house. She looked normal. She didn't look sick. She didn't look tired. She didn't look drunk. So, we have a healthy 23-year-old fitness model with zero known history of drug use, suddenly dead from an overdose of fentanyl, along with 2 other drugs known to be DR drugs. Date R drugs. In the presence of a man she hardly knows, and this man is not considered a person of interest. This man was never taken to the police station to actually have a formal statement or formal questioning. Why? Why? Typically, in suspicious and or sudden death incidences, the number one person of interest is the last person to see the victim alive. And in domestic cases, significant others are often needed to be ruled out before the police will even consider looking into anyone else. And those are people that are married and dating. So this is basically a stranger. She's known him for 3 days. He's admitted to that. And no known drug user, though they don't know that. They don't know that because they never call her family, but we'll get into that later. Either way, we have a suspicious death. Tell me it's not suspicious that a 23-year-old's just gone. We have a man she's only known for 3 days, and you're not going to question him more? What in the actual F-U-C-K? I'm trying not to swear a lot on this channel anymore. I let myself get carried away at one point. I was doing good in my first few videos, and now I get angry and I start cussing. Okay. So, Matthew LaFountain wasn't even properly or formally questioned, as I just kind of ranted about. He was never considered a suspect or a person of interest. The apartment was never considered a crime scene or a potential crime scene, and the only items that police took from Lauren's apartment that morning was her phone, her passport, her keys, and a little over $1,300 in cash. Did they even look around the apartment? There were cups there, with a little bit of liquor left in them. They didn't take anything. They took nothing. They did not treat this like there was any kind of crime at all. They immediately decided that Matt LaFountain was a nice guy, and and I'm not gonna say what everybody's already saying, but it looks sus as fuck. I'd say a little bit sus, but no, it's sus as fuck. There's no reason that he should not have been taken for extra questioning. There's no reason that DNA should have been asked for immediately. Just because he says that they didn't do anything and she was clothed. The guy spent the night. After 3 days, the girl is deceased from, I'm sorry, with the blood coming out, that they had to have automatically assumed that it was some type of OD. But you're not going to question the person that's with her? Why? The family was never notified by police, nor by the hospital where they took her, nor the medical examiner. They found out about her death only when, after calling her all day of the 12th with no response, which was extremely unusual for her because, like I said before, she was very, very close with her family. They drove over to her apartment on the 13th, and there on the front door was a note saying, "If you're looking for Lauren, call this number." This was written by Lauren's landlord, Hector. So they call Hector. After he has informed them that she was found deceased, and here is a card to the detective that's handling the case. Now imagine, you don't hear from her for a while, but police didn't call you, nobody called you, so you're thinking, what's going on? It can't be anything super duper, crazy, because the police would have called us, right? But then you hear that, all in one go, from a landlord, nonetheless. So immediately they call the detective. Now this is Detective Kevin Cronin. And they're asking all sorts of questions, of course. I mean, they just got hit by a Mack truck with, information of their daughter. And, they want answers, of course. And he's just blowing them off left and right. Detective Cronin tells them about the Bumble date and that LaFountain is the one who was with her and who called 911. The brother said, well, then who is this guy? Have you found anything out about this guy? And Detective Cronin's like, well, you shouldn't jump to conclusions or worry about him too much. He seemed like a great guy. Okay, and what? So did Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy seemed like a great guy too. Detective Cronin was very arrogant and condescending with the family. Lauren's father, Everett Smith, called him and was completely cut short by Cronin. Cronin stated that Everett should talk to his ex-wife, whom he had already told everything to. Everett said, well, I have some questions of my own that my wife my ex didn't answer or ask you. To which Cronin replied, you know what, it's late, I'm off duty, I can't talk to you right now, and hung up on him. They had zero communication from police after that until December 29th of 2021. So 16 days. No communication, no answers, nothing. Just basically, and then the report comes in that she OD'd and all, and they're just, wait a minute, what? No, answer us. This did not happen. She did not do this to herself. Somebody did this to her. The family was at Lauren's apartment on the 29th, packing up her belongings, and a new detective showed up completely unannounced. So another, unannounced, slap in the face, hey, here I am, and not only that, I'm a new detective working on the case. Oh, and it gets better. It gets better, you guys. This was Detective Garcia. He was there to conduct a crime scene investigation. All these days after, he's there to conduct a crime scene investigation. But the majority of evidence was already packed up, such as the dishes and bloody sheets. I mean, key stuff here is already now packed away because it's been however many days. They think the police aren't looking into anything, So, just ridiculous. Lauren's brother, Lakeem, said, the first night we were there, we saw cups there, flipped plates, and the lube, which was a small single bottle of lube that was open and used. The cops didn't take any of the cups to test the liquor. There was a big blood stain in the middle of her bed with streaks going to the right side. Now, the streaks going to the right side could have been when he pulled her off the bed to do compressions, but how is she sleeping? You'd think the blood would be more towards the head of the bed, right? And the family noticed that and said, this is odd. The family also noted the unprofessionalism of Detective Garcia. They said that when Detective Garcia got there and they asked about Detective Cronin, he said, F. Cronin, he got kicked off the case. He's an effing a-hole. Detective Garcia denies saying this, of course, but can you imagine you're in there cleaning up and it's like, oh, he got kicked off the case. He screwed this up. And then right there they're thinking like, oh my gosh, and we're sitting here packing up evidence? Like, oh my goodness, So there is something else going on and they know it. The evidence gathered that day includes bloody sheets, the 2 cups, the open bottle of lube, a pill that looked to be a sedative, a used Trojan condom with semen inside, none of which has been analyzed yet. Over 1 month, they've had it sitting on a shelf. Because remember, this is December 29th. It is now January 31st. It's still sitting on a shelf. And let me tell you, the Trojan condom with semen inside. Now, this was not dried up, old, whatever. This was newly used condom. He was adamant they did not have sex. Yet there is a condom there that has been freshly used, and he says he was with her all night long. Oh my God, why? If they had gathered, the guy would be away. The guy would be away. It was a simple case. Simple case. He did this to her, and had they gathered the evidence immediately and actually looked at him like they should have from the start, is at least a person of interest, as the last person to see her alive, this case would have been closed. In my opinion, that DNA in that condom is going to match Matt LaFountain. That is going to prove that he lied. Okay? From there, they can move forward with the case and actually investigate him. Where did this pill come from? If she doesn't have a prescription for it, how is some random pill just lying there? You know? Like, okay, I'm going to take this back. I just said it would be closed and whatever. No, okay, of course it wouldn't be closed. We still have to figure out how the drugs were ingested and that sort of thing. But we would have known from the get-go that he had lied about sleeping with her. Because 99.99999%, I can tell you, I just have this, I know, just everybody who could not have a feeling that that semen is his. Whose else would it be? It's fresh, basically, which sounds, I like want to vomit. But whose else would it be? He was the last one with her. He was with her all night long. Nobody else came. He didn't leave to where she could have maybe had someone else over. Okay, I'm off on a tangent and I'm going to stop. The app Bumble has reached out to Darnell Crossland. He is the attorney representing the family. Well, they reached out to show support to the family and offered to start a charity in Lauren's name. Bumble said that the police have not yet asked for anything from them. Nothing. No messages between Matt and Lauren. No activity from Matthew LaFountain and anybody else that he could have been talking to for like a character witness type thing. Who else he maybe went on dates on that they could question. Was the guy weird? Was the guy into pills? Like, you know, did he seem creepy at all? You know, Lauren or any other contacts that Matthew may have made through the site. Darnell Crossland has met with the CEO of Bumble. So I don't know what they have now as far as that. I commend Bumble for reaching out the way that they did. I did on my Bad Moms Club a thing of bad apps and things and people that have gone missing from certain apps. And I have to say Bumble really stepped it up and said, you know what, this happened through our app. We're going to take accountability and we're going to try to help the family. So Sunday, January 23rd, 2022, in honor of Lauren, her family, along with many supporters, marched from Bridgeport PD to Bridgeport City Hall on what would have been Lauren's 24th birthday to commemorate her death and demand the city to act. They have a GoFundMe to help pay for a second independent autopsy and private investigation that they have been forced to hire due to the lack of police involvement in Lauren's case. And I will put that in the description box. I know I put it up here, but you can't click on it. So I'm going to try to put the link in the description box. I'm learning how to put links in there, you guys. So I know I'm not very good at that yet, but I'm getting there. But anyway, just type in her name and you'll get there. Excuse me. Even rapper Cardi B, my girl, I love her so much, took to Twitter to call out Bridgeport PD, accusing them of failing Lauren, calling for justice for Lauren. Following this tweet that went viral, January 25th, 2022, 6 weeks after Lauren was found, a criminal investigation has officially opened into her death. Now, the family is showing thanks to Cardi B, saying that she was the catalyst that got this ball rolling, but I also don't think that they should sell themselves short. They marched for her birthday from the Bridgeport PD to the Bridgeport City Hall, and they did an amazing job. They all came together and they were loud and they were, we're not going to take this. You're going to look into the death of my daughter. You're not just going to discard her. You're not just going to act like this didn't happen. You are going to answer our questions. You are going to give us justice. And you're going to do this whether you like it or not. Or we are going to sue the shit out of you. And that is exactly what I would have done too. Like I said in my Lena case, I wouldn't be just sitting here. They took the Amber Alert away. Hell no. No, 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 no. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own advocate. The police are failing us. They are failing us. So they have also opened up an investigation into the first detective on the case, Detective Kevin Cronin. And thank goodness. Because what an arrogant a-hole. I'm sorry. How arrogant can you be? He was a nice guy. He seemed like a nice guy. Or what? Or what? He was a white guy? And your daughter was a black girl? I said it. I said it. Come for me if you will. I said it. I try to be a certain way on this channel. I try to be unbiased. I will say what I feel though. And I do feel that there was racial injustice in this case. I also feel because she was a female and he was a male. And it's like, well, she only knew him for 3 days and she allowed him to come to her house. If something happened, she should have been smarter. She shouldn't have done that. She's a female. She's a black female. And he's a white male. It needs to stop. It needs to fucking stop. It needs to stop today, right now. There is protocol that you follow. Why is protocol not being followed in certain cases? Now they say the Gabby Petito case got all of this because she was a white girl. They botched her case too. Yes, it did get a lot of media attention and everything, but they screwed up too. The police let him go. They let Brian Laundrie go because she looked like she was the nuts one. She looked crazy. And because they thought, oh, well, Brian seems like a nice guy. He seems like a great charismatic individual. And Gabby seems like, she needs to just chill out a little bit, And because of that, because they judged both of them, she is now dead as well. So the cops are not doing us any favors. Sometimes I don't believe it was intended, like with Gabby Petito, I do not believe it was intended. In this case, with Lauren Smith Fields, this officer intentionally decided, based off of his own damn feelings, that this case did not deserve any other attention. Just another OD. Why are we going to wreck this white man's life? So, sorry, I got a little carried away. That's the way I feel. I wanted to cover this case immediately when I heard about it. What they did to this family is unconscionable. It should never, ever, ever have happened. This young woman had her entire life ahead of her. And it doesn't matter. She invited the man over after 3 days. The man was there. They had him right there. And they chose, or he, Detective Cronin, chose to just let him go. Why? And then all these weeks go by where they're not collecting evidence. And do you want to know the big problem with this? I'm going to tell you the big, big, big problem with this. Because you might be thinking, well, it was all that time, but they have the evidence now. You're right, they do. But guess what? Some of it may not be admissible in court now. The defense may not be able to use some of this evidence against prosecution because it could have been tampered with at this point, or the family could have planted it at this point. They're going to make up all sorts of shit. I think I flipped that around, but you know what I mean? Matt's defense is going to say that these things could have happened. So some of it may not even be admissible. Some of the damning evidence may not even be admissible anymore because of this ignorant, arrogant. Did you get what I said there? Okay, I'm done. I want to get this out there. Please, please, please share this. Go watch other videos on this and share that. They are still, you know, as of right now, Matthew has lawyered up and he's deleted all of his social media accounts. All of them. You cannot find him anywhere now. He's deleted all of it. A little bit sus? I mean, a little bit. Maybe the lawyer told him to. I don't know. But he's denying this. The lawyer has spoken a little bit, and now he is saying that we're done. We're not saying anymore. Matthew's cooperating. He had nothing to do with this. End of story. So we will see what happens. I am going to follow this case, obviously, and I will bring to you any new information that I come up with. Please like and subscribe and, you know, spread awareness about this case. This was handled terribly, terribly, and they cannot get away with this. Police cannot get away with this anymore. Like, I get it. They're under fire too. They're having issues too. But it's like, you go off of your feelings? No, there's a protocol. There's a protocol you have to follow. You're in charge of someone's life. Talk to you guys later.